on the way to the Wellington Vigil for the Christchurch shooting victims and their families. Hopefully there's a lot of aroha. We have missed the opening karakia. But on the way, please enjoy the number plates of these cars. I should really blot those out. Here we are, the Basin Reserve looks very full. A lot of people out to show kindness, love, and solidarity with Muslim brothers and sisters. Kia kaha, New Zealand, kia kaha. So I missed the first speech, but it was about how we stand against hatred and terrorism, and that we stand for our Muslim people, which was pretty cool.
A despicable and a heinous crime had been committed. 50 innocent lives for no apparent reason except to go and see their prayers in the masjid, the place of worship for the Muslims, have lost their lives. The whole nation is in deep shock. No doubt, many questions will need to be answered as to how this could happen in a peaceful, beautiful country of ours. On behalf of the President of the Federation of the Islamic Association, Dr. Mustafa Farooq, and the whole Muslim community across the country, I wish to express my gratitude to the government and the people of New Zealand for showing your support and solidarity with the Muslim community.
The baby agrees.
Our hearts and prayers go out of the victims and families who were affected in the tragedy in Christchurch. On Friday, when we heard about the tragedy news, my heart was broken. I was crying. I asked my husband, "Can you give me a hug?" I just can't believe it happens in New Zealand, where I call home. So we have the executive team went to the mosque in Kibani. We have the members make phone calls, message, even went to see our Muslim community members. We want to show that we are here, really care about you. I was really surprised to see some of my non-Muslim friends. They even shocked than the Muslim brothers and sisters, because we all think New Zealand is a wonderful place of land, wonderful country that we want to have a betterment of our next generation, and somewhere we call home. I want to emphasize and talk about multiculturalism. I really appreciate our similarity, our shared values, our common goals, even our kind of some habits for these cultural things. I also want to acknowledge the difference of different cultures. Our multicultural council, we have the communities, the people from everywhere of the world. We are here to get support, to support each other. Also want to acknowledge we are someone they can talk to when the difficult times. Even for the happy times, they can share. That's something really valued to us. There's one sentence I always want to acknowledge. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. The people, the people, the people. We share different languages. I'm not a New Zealand-born Kiwi, but I'm a proud New Zealander.
It is with a really deep sadness that I stand in front of you today, and I really want to honour all the different forms of grief that every single person is carrying with them. Firstly, I want to acknowledge those of you whose grief is deeply, deeply personal because you lost someone. And to those of you here tonight, you are the centre of everything. This entire stadium is here to protect you and to support you. For others, the grief will be different, but it is every bit as real. And it is a grief that joins us together in this space to mourn across every difference. I am not here mandated to represent any community. I am a Palestinian New Zealander who lives here. I'm a mother and I'm an early childhood teacher, and I can only speak the truth of that. These last few days, I have realised that we have absolutely no map and no instructions for how to deal with what has just happened, because it is so unprecedented and it has thrown us all into such a shock. We are full of questions, we are full of sadness, we are full of helplessness and heartache at a tragedy that no explanation can or will ever change. 50 precious lives are no longer with us on these motu, and each person who was taken from their family contained a whole world of possibilities and of dreams, and every single one of them, but none more so than the children we lost. There is a 4-year-old Palestinian Jordanian girl named Aline. She was shot multiple times on Friday and is currently in critical care, and we really need to carry her in all our thoughts and prayers tonight, and we will sit with this grief now. But for the families and for the Muslim community of Christchurch and Aotearoa, we will live with this unchangeable and traumatic reality forever. We must allow ourselves to reckon with the profound loss that this act of terrorism has created. We must also sit with an uncomfortable feeling that it did not have to be this way. We often wonder how we can explain these things to our children. And for me, it is always about saying that we live in a world that is not always fair for all people, but that they hold the power to change things. Things may be this way now, but they don't have to be. In order to change things, we need to face them as they are now. This can be a scary and confronting process, but it is the right and it is the necessary thing to do if we want a place where all of our children have a right to live a life and a right to their dignity. Islamophobia, migrant sentiment, anti-migrant sentiment, white supremacy and racism are all real. They kill and they live with us in this country, and they need to be challenged. The one thing that is very hurtful is that the people in the mosque at Linwood have been surveilled for the last 20 years. They have been treated like criminals and terrorists, all while their communities have felt the building violence of racism and Islamophobia. This violence was reported, but it was minimized because the war on terror peddled Islamophobia and it normalized it. Two things can actually be true at once. Unfortunately, it is true that racism exists in our society, but it is also true that there are uniquely powerful values uniquely within this land and its people. I think of manaakitanga ko tahitanga on a whanaunatanga, values which we hold collectively, values we will not only maintain but need to take further. More than ever, we need to protect and extend our relationships with each other, our hospitality. We will be relentless in our love and our uplifting of the mana of all peoples. This is not a question of who we think we are or who we are not, but a question of who we want to be. The whole world is watching us, and I absolutely believe with every fibre in my being that we can do this. And if any place in a very complicated and polarised world is capable of showing us that we can live in peace, it is this place.
I call upon the government to immediately remove the restriction of the effective ban on Middle Eastern and African refugees based on bogus security concerns. I also call upon the New Zealand government to triple the refugee quota. I call for these things because my hope is that with these actions, we can say in a single voice today, refugees are not blamed, they are not feared, and they are not vulnerable when they are in our midst. They are truly welcome here. I thought also about what I would like to convey to the victims of this tragedy. And strangely for me, I was thinking of something I was taught from a holy book that I studied when I was young. Better than 1,000 useless words is a single word that grants peace. I am so sorry, but I do not have those words. But I hope, I truly hope, that they look upon this gathering today and that they find some strength. Finally, I have a brief and important message to those who committed this crime and those who associate with them. It is a message that good people have sent to fascism whenever it has reared its ugly head. Never, never again.
I'm a chairperson, I'm a unionist by profession, I'm a former refugee, I'm a proud Muslim, and most of all, I'm a proud Kiwi. Ten years ago, I have chosen to come to New Zealand because it was safe. I was welcomed with open arms, and I'm so pleased to have made my life here. That day, I'm so happy that I made that decision, and that's no different today. To my Muslim brothers and sisters, Inna Lillah wa Inna Ilayhi Raji'un. Your loss to the victims' families, I say your loss is unbearable, but you're not alone. Today, we mourn and grieve with you. The Muslim community across New Zealand, millions of Kiwis across this country mourn and grieve with you. Actually, the whole world is mourning with you. You are in our prayers and our thoughts. I would also want to condemn the right-wing terrorism and white supremacy in the strongest possible terms. No terrorists represent any country. No terrorists represent a religion. I know that a lot of my fellow New Zealanders, my friends, my flatmates, been telling me that they feel guilty because of this. You shouldn't. This guy is not one of you. He's not one of us. He just represents himself and his likes. Very, very minority. Please don't feel guilty. But we must talk. We have a discussion to make going forward. Violence will always come in many forms. I personally have faced casual abuse and been target of hate crimes online. Most Muslims and minorities groups know what I'm talking about. But now it's time for all of us to come together as a community to act and move forward. I finally wanted to remember some of the names of those who passed away. Mohad Ibrahim, 3 years old, bubbling, beautiful smile, who has all his life ahead of him. Haji Dawood Nabi, 71 years old, beautiful man from Afghanistan, who was with his beautiful granddaughter at the time of the attack. Khalid Mustafa and San Hamza, Syrian refugees who arrived from a war-torn Syria to be safe. But last Friday they were not. Linda Armstrong, a beautiful, child-looking woman, always happy, who sponsored a child from Bangladesh. Let's remember them and the many other victims. This terrorist wanted to turn this country apart. By this crime, he didn't want to kill these people. He wanted to turn us against each other. He wanted people to react. But people are reacting, but not in the way that he wanted. This is how people are reacting. All coming together. This gathering today is an answer to him and his likes all over the world. And we will never be defeated. And we are here for each other. We will continue to do so. And thank you so much for coming today. Kia kaha, let's stay stronger, as together we are strong. Thank you.
I want to ask you to please stand as we sing Te Aroha, led by Orchestra Wellington and the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. Please remain standing as we observe 1 minute silence.
It was a very nice event. Good to see turnout for Muslim whānau terrorists. You are bad and you should stop what you're doing because it's wrong. Now I just have to find my wife.